Dear colleagues, first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Nataliia Stukalo and I'm Vice Head of the National Agency for Higher Education Quality Assurance, Ukraine. The QR code presented at this slide leads to NACA website and my contact details. So you're very welcome to contact me in case you have any questions or issues. This study is devoted to extending role of QA agencies in response to pandemic challenges. 2020 has appeared to be a very challenging year for the whole world, all people, all nations, all institutions. The higher educational sphere has suffered from these COVID-19 quarantine restrictions a lot. Quarantine was announced in most countries of the world in the mid-March, and universities has to make a quick shift from face-to-face to remote and hybrid teaching. It seemed to be a temporary measure back in March. However, in few weeks it has appeared it's not a temporary measure, it's quite a time-consuming process, and all institutions and peoples and nations should work and live in new reality. And those challenges are still remain. In 2020, 2021, we still have uncertainty and we cannot predict how long will last this quarantine. So now people used to talk about the new reality, for the universities, it means that universities should develop management systems and should think about remote or hybrid internal quality assurance, should develop and implement methodology of remote teaching. And of course, it leads to changes in the external quality assurance, and quality assurance agencies are starting to develop approaches to the emergency remote higher education quality assurance. And all this leads to increasing demand for the consultancy services, the methodological support, the best practice sharing. According to ESG 2015, it is important for quality assurance agencies to support higher educational systems, quality assurance agencies and other institutions in responding different challenges and changes in current environment. And it's also important to note that the IFO group made a statement in August 2020 that ESG remain valid and relevant in the current higher educational landscape, and it was also suggested to quality assurance agencies to demonstrate flexibility and apply guidelines and standards depending on the situation, stakeholders' needs, and in each particular context. The major aim of this study is to investigate how the role of quality assurance agencies has changed. To support this major aim, we have developed some more research questions, such as what are the key quality assurance agencies' functions and tools to help their key stakeholders in emergency times? What is the university's experience in working with QA agencies? How do these changes impact the quality of higher education? This is qualitative study based on case study and phenomenology method, and we have conducted interviews with, and there were 34 participants of these interviews. the participants are the rectors and vice rectors of the state and private, different size and different specialization universities located in various regions of Ukraine. We also have reviewed some practices and cases of QA agencies' activities and QA networks practices. So the foreign experience is also considered. The first finding from the study is that consultancy and supportive functions of the QA agencies are of the great importance for the stakeholders in emergency times. It has appeared that universities need additional support, recommendations, guidelines to address the current challenges associated with the worldwide quarantine. In such cases, social media tools, different video conferences, webinars, training, Q&A sessions are of great help for all stakeholders, and including universities and other higher educational institutions. So, and this consultative support is important for their policy development and decision-making process. As example, we can talk about some social media projects implemented by NACA, like NACA comments, when all agency members comment different issues associated with quarantine and with other challenges of a higher education area. NACA advises some useful guidelines, advises how to work in pandemic times, and also NACA's Q&A sessions have appeared to be very useful when the representatives of the universities, the NACA experts and other stakeholders ask questions, and NACA members answer these questions. It's also worth to pay attention that there are a lot of other good examples and practices in European higher education area and the whole world. So, for instance, has presented a series of webinars which became very useful for quality assurance agencies and also for the universities. We also know about INQUA has NCA chair thematics webinars. They're devoted to different study fields, different study programs, how to ensure evaluation and accreditation in pandemic time. So these examples demonstrate that such a support and such function and role of QA agencies is very important. Next finding is that QA agencies demonstrate flexibility and adaptability in the emergency situation. QA agencies contribute to the development of new procedures. They adopt the QA process to remote teaching conditions. They also make legislative initiative in order to legitimize the new procedures. To support this finding with example, I would like to mention that NACA has completed more than 500 remote accreditations during the last 6 months. And we know that our partners and other ANCA members make remote accreditations, and we have already mentioned the EFO group statement, which supports such flexibility and such flexibility and adaptability of the QA agencies and all quality assurance process. Next finding is that universities highly appreciate the QA agency's leadership during emergency situation and are open to such initiatives. Uh, so it has appeared that external QA innovations such as remote site visits stimulate development of the university's internal quality assurance system and new technologies implementation. And there is evidence of multiplication effect in such cases. There are some cases of Ukrainian universities when during pandemic times the universities has effectively implemented e-systems, e-university systems, developed and used apps for the universities. For instance, National University of Water Management have implemented such a system and app to be which is very useful, and students highly appreciate such instrument, such tool. Hybrid e-management of Dnipro Polytech system, online open lecturing by Ternopil National Pedagogical University. So all these cases demonstrate that the universities started new initiatives, and because they worked at their internal quality assurance system improvement, and they had to be prepared for the remote accreditations. And one more finding is QA agencies become platforms for collecting the best practices, and these best practices relate to the university management good practices or quality of study programs in teaching and learning, and such best practices are collected and shared by the agencies, and agencies share these practices and advise other universities and stakeholders to learn from such cases and good practices. For instance, NACA has introduced School of Quality, where the universities who has good experience in different spheres share practices, and they answer questions, and they make like webinars for the universities, and these webinars are translated and demonstrated at NACA Facebook account, Facebook page. NACA has also developed collection of best practices and post them at the NACA website. And it's also worth to mention that, for instance, ENCA has also developed collections of case studies, and they are very useful, so the other agencies can learn from good practices shared by ENCA members and affiliates. To sum up, we can talk about the role of QA agencies at different levels, and institutional, national, international, and meta level. So at institutional level, the main functions of the QA agencies is, of course, accreditation, evaluation, audit. So the internal quality assurance through external quality assurance. At institutional level, the recommendations and the guidelines developed and presented by the QA agencies is also very important. At national level, the role of QA agencies are mainly focused on the development of national quality framework, and they also play the societal role. At international level, QA agencies develop and encourage cross-border quality assurance and promote internationalization of higher education. And at meta level, it's important to mention this consulting and consulting function, and also role of agencies as platforms for best practices in order to enhance culture of quality. So the consulting and creating the platforms for best practices can happen at any level, like at the level at institutional, national, international level. And the consultancy and practice sharing role of QA agencies is becoming more and more important. This slide includes some photos from our web page, Facebook page, and demonstrates activities of the National Agency for Higher Education Quality Assurance during pandemic times. And it's important to mention that the Quality Assurance Agency's role in emergency situation should be based on such principles as leadership, flexibility, adaptability, supportiveness, consultancy. Thank you for your attention, and let me kindly remind that this QR code includes information about my contact details and also National Agency for Higher Education Quality Assurance web page. You are very welcome to contact me, and I will be happy to answer any questions associated related to this presentation. Thank you for your attention.